There's a saying, folks, that we stand on the shoulders of giants, and that's certainly true when we talk about the history of the United States. Those giants? Well, they're the men who've served as President of the United States. Let's look at the last 30 U.S. presidents who have passed away. 30 leaders who, in their time, guided our nation through triumph and tragedy, peace and war, prosperity and hardship. For each, we'll share where they came from, when they became president, how they died, their age, and one lesson we can learn from their life. Think of it as a journey, not just through history books, but through the values and virtues that have shaped the very soul of America. Our 41st president, George H.W. Bush, hailed from the Lone Star State of Texas. He took office in 1989, at a time when the world was on the brink of monumental change. The Berlin Wall was crumbling, the Cold War was thawing, and a new era was dawning. Bush, a decorated World War II veteran and former CIA director, navigated these turbulent waters with a steady hand and a commitment to diplomacy. He understood that true leadership often lies not in flexing muscles but in building bridges. He forged international coalitions, helping to ensure a peaceful end to the Cold War. He reminded us that even in the highest office, humility and grace are not weaknesses, but strengths. President Bush passed away at the age of 94, leaving behind a legacy of service and a reminder that true leadership is often quiet, resolute, and deeply human. From the Golden State of California came Ronald Reagan, our 40th president. He took office in 1981 with a disarming smile and a belief system as bright and sunny as his home state. Reagan, a former actor, understood the power of storytelling, of painting a picture of a brighter future. He spoke of America as a shining city on a hill, a beacon of hope and freedom for the world. And you know what? People believed him. His unwavering optimism, his belief in the American spirit, it lifted the nation's spirits during a time of economic uncertainty and international tension. President Reagan taught us that a positive vision clearly articulated can unite and uplift a country. He passed away at the age of 93, his legacy forever intertwined with the fall of the Berlin Wall and a renewed sense of national pride. Gerald Ford, our 38th president, was a man who understood the weight of duty and the importance of healing. Hailing from Michigan, he assumed the presidency in 1974 under the most extraordinary of circumstances, in the aftermath of the Watergate scandal and Richard Nixon's resignation. It was a time of deep national division, a crisis of faith in the very institutions of government. Ford, a man of quiet strength and integrity, chose the path of forgiveness. He pardoned Nixon, believing that the nation needed to move forward, to heal. It was a controversial decision, but one that he believed was in the best interest of the country. President Ford taught us that healing after national trauma requires forgiveness, even when it's difficult, and calm, steady leadership in the face of adversity. He passed away at the age of 93, his presidency a reminder that sometimes the greatest act of leadership is to choose unity over retribution. Richard Nixon, our 37th president from California, led a life of triumph and tragedy. He took office in 1969, a time of immense social and political upheaval. The Vietnam War raged, protests filled the streets, and the nation seemed fractured. Nixon, a complex and often contradictory figure, achieved historic breakthroughs in foreign policy, opening relations with China, and pursuing détente with the Soviet Union. Yet, his presidency will forever be linked to the Watergate scandal, a stain on his legacy, and a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power. Nixon resigned in disgrace in 1974, but even in the shadow of scandal, he sought redemption, writing and speaking on foreign policy, and striving to rebuild his reputation. President Nixon's life is a stark reminder that even from the ashes of public disgrace, redemption is possible. He died at the age of 81, his story a cautionary tale about the corrupting influence of power and the enduring possibility of second chances. Lyndon B. Johnson, our 36th president, hailed from the heart of Texas. He assumed the presidency in 1963 following the assassination of John F. Kennedy, inheriting a nation in mourning and a world on edge. A master legislator, Johnson used his considerable political skills to enact sweeping social reforms. He declared a war on poverty, pushing for Medicare, Medicaid, and landmark civil rights legislation. Johnson's presidency reminds us that fighting for equality, for opportunity for all Americans, can define a leader's legacy. He understood that the true measure of a nation lies in how it treats its most vulnerable citizens. President Johnson passed away at the age of 64, his time in office a testament to the power of government to effect positive change. From the heartland of America, Kansas, came Dwight D. Eisenhower, our 34th president. He took office in 1953, a war hero who had led Allied forces to victory in Europe during World War II. Eisenhower brought that same steady hand and strategic mind to the presidency. He understood that leadership wasn't just about charisma, it was about competence, about clear goals and meticulous planning. He oversaw the construction of the interstate highway system, a testament to his belief in investing in America's future. He warned of the growing influence of the military-industrial complex, a cautionary note about the dangers of unchecked power. President Eisenhower's life teaches us that good planning, clear goals, and a commitment to building for tomorrow are crucial for strong leadership. He died at the age of 78, leaving behind a legacy of quiet competence and a reminder that sometimes the steadiest hand is the one that guides the ship most effectively. Harry S. Truman, our 33rd president, hailed from Missouri, a place where folks really valued honesty and plain speaking. He came to office in 1945 in the waning days of World War II, facing the daunting task of guiding a nation through the transition from war to peace. Truman was a man of decisiveness, a leader who understood that sometimes the toughest choices are the ones that define you. He authorized the use of atomic bombs against Japan, a decision that ended the war, but, it ignited a moral debate that continues to this day. He also led the way in shaping the post-war world, establishing the Marshall Plan to rebuild Europe and NATO to counter Soviet expansionism. President Truman's life teaches us that honest decision-making, even when it's difficult or unpopular, builds trust over time. He died at the age of 88, his legacy a reminder that leadership is about making the tough calls, not the easy ones. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, our 32nd president, came from New York, a state that really embodies American ambition and resilience. He took office in 1933 at the height of the Great Depression, a time when the American dream felt like a distant memory for millions. Roosevelt, stricken with polio but not defined by it, possessed an unshakable faith in the American spirit. He rallied the nation with his fireside chats, his voice a source of comfort and strength during those dark days. He implemented the New Deal, a series of programs designed to put people back to work, to restore hope. Roosevelt's presidency teaches us that steady resolve during crises, a belief in the power of collective action, can inspire hope and guide a nation through its darkest hours. He passed away at the age of 63, his legacy forever intertwined with the idea that even in the face of unimaginable hardship, the American spirit can endure. Herbert Hoover, our 31st president, was a man who truly believed in the power of service. Born in Iowa, he had a long and distinguished career as a mining engineer and humanitarian before entering politics. He took office in 1929, just months before the stock market crash that plunged the nation into the Great Depression. Hoover's presidency was overshadowed by the economic crisis and, his efforts to combat it were often criticized as ineffective. However, he never wavered in his belief in public service. After leaving office, he dedicated himself to humanitarian work, leading relief efforts in war-torn Europe and aiding refugees. President Hoover's life teaches us that public service doesn't end with public office. It's a lifelong commitment to making the world a better place. He died at the age of 90, his life a testament to the enduring power of compassion and the belief that we all have a responsibility to help those in need. Calvin Coolidge, our 30th president, hailed from the Green Mountain state of Vermont. He took office in 1923, a time of economic prosperity and social change. Coolidge, a man of few words but firm beliefs, believed in limited government and fiscal responsibility. He famously said, "The chief business of the American people is business." And you know what? He lived by those words. His policies reflected a belief that government should create the conditions for prosperity, not dictate its terms. President Coolidge's life teaches us that sometimes less government intervention is more effective. He died at the age of 60, his presidency a reminder that quiet leadership and a commitment to sound principles can guide a nation through times of peace and plenty. Woodrow Wilson, our 28th president, was a man of ideas, a scholar who believed in the power of diplomacy and international cooperation. Born in Virginia, he came to office in 1913 with a vision of a world governed by law, not by might. He led America through World War I, urging a peace based on justice and self-determination. He championed the League of Nations, a forerunner to the United Nations, as a way to prevent future wars. President Wilson's life teaches us that idealism, tempered with realism, can change the global order. He died at the age of 67, his legacy a reminder that even in a world often driven by conflict, the pursuit of peace is a noble and necessary endeavor. William Howard Taft, our 27th president from Ohio, lived a life that defied expectations. He took office in 1909, handpicked by his predecessor and close friend, Theodore Roosevelt. Taft, a brilliant jurist, always saw himself more as a judge than a politician. He preferred the quiet contemplation of the courtroom to the rough-and-tumble world of Washington politics. And you know what? Fate had other plans. After leaving the presidency, Taft achieved his lifelong dream of serving on the Supreme Court, becoming Chief Justice in 1921. President Taft's life teaches us that there is honor in public service across all branches of government. He died at the age of 72, his story a reminder that sometimes the most fulfilling path is the one less traveled. Theodore Roosevelt, our 26th president, was a force of nature, a man of boundless energy and unwavering conviction. Born in New York City, he burst onto the national stage with the same vigor and enthusiasm that he brought to every aspect of his life. He became president in 1901, determined to use the power of the presidency to fight for the common man, to bust trusts, conserve natural resources, and build a stronger, more just America. He believed in speaking softly but carrying a big stick, a philosophy that guided his foreign policy and his approach to domestic challenges. President Roosevelt's life teaches us that courage, energy, and a willingness to stand up for what's right can reshape a nation. He died at the age of 60, but his legacy of conservation, trust-busting, and a commitment to social justice continues to inspire. Grover Cleveland, our 22nd and 24th president, was the only president to serve 2 non-consecutive terms. Hailing from New Jersey, he was known for his honesty, integrity, and unwavering commitment to principle. He first took office in 1885, then again in 1893, facing economic downturns, labor unrest, and political turmoil during both terms. Cleveland was a man who stood his ground, even when it was unpopular, even when it meant going against his own party. He believed in fiscal responsibility, limited government, and the rule of law. President Cleveland's life teaches us that integrity often requires standing firm under pressure, even when it's politically expedient to bend. He died at the age of 71, his legacy a testament to the importance of principled leadership. Benjamin Harrison, our 23rd president, came from Indiana, a state known for its heartland values and its commitment to unity. He took office in 1889, at a time when the nation was still healing from the wounds of the Civil War and grappling with rapid industrialization. Harrison, a Civil War veteran himself, understood the importance of preserving the Union. He worked to bridge the divide between North and South, promoting economic development and reconciliation. President Harrison's life teaches us that leadership sometimes requires preserving unity over personal ambition, putting the needs of the nation above partisan politics. He died at the age of 67, his presidency a reminder that a house divided cannot stand. Chester A. Arthur, our 21st president, was a man who honestly defied expectations. Born in Vermont but raised in New York, he came to office in 1881 after the assassination of President James Garfield. Arthur, who had a reputation as a consummate insider, surprised many by embracing reform and civil service. He signed the Pendleton Civil Service Reform Act, which established a merit-based system for government jobs, a move that really helped to curb corruption and professionalize the federal workforce. President Arthur's life teaches us that unexpected leaders can rise to greatness, and that sometimes those who seem destined to maintain the status quo can actually become unexpected champions of change. He died at the age of 57, his presidency a reminder that leadership potential can be found in the most unexpected of places. James A. Garfield, our 20th president, served a tragically short time in office. Born in Ohio, he had a distinguished career as a Union general during the Civil War, and as a congressman before ascending to the presidency in 1881. Just 4 months into his term, he was shot by a disgruntled office seeker. Garfield clung to life for 80 agonizing days, and his courage and resilience in the face of unimaginable pain became an inspiration to the nation. President Garfield's life, though tragically cut short, teaches us that leadership demands resilience even in personal suffering. He died at the age of 49, his story a reminder of the fragility of life and the enduring power of the human spirit. Rutherford B. Hayes, our 19th president, was a man who truly believed that integrity was paramount. Born in Ohio, he served as a Union general during the Civil War and as governor of Ohio before being elected president in one of the most disputed elections in American history. The 1876 election was marred by allegations of voter fraud and resulted in a pretty contentious compromise that put Hayes in the White House. Despite the controversy surrounding his election, Hayes governed with integrity, working to restore faith in government and to promote reconciliation in the aftermath of the Civil War. President Hayes's life teaches us that integrity must guide even disputed victories, and that the true measure of a leader lies in how they govern, not just how they win. He died at the age of 70, his legacy a reminder that character matters, perhaps more than ever, in times of division and uncertainty. Ulysses S. Grant, our 18th president, was a man who understood both the costs of war and the challenges of peace. Born in Ohio, he rose to prominence as the commanding general of the Union Army during the Civil War, his strategic brilliance and unwavering determination leading to the Confederacy's defeat. He became president in 1869, inheriting a nation still deeply divided by the war. Grant's presidency was marked by efforts to protect the rights of freed slaves, to rebuild the South, and to heal the wounds of war. President Grant's life teaches us that persistence wins both battles and rebuilding efforts. He died at the age of 63, his legacy a reminder that true leadership involves not just winning wars, but securing lasting peace. Andrew Johnson, our 17th president, faced one of the most challenging periods in American history. He came from Tennessee, a state deeply divided by the Civil War. Johnson became president in 1865 following the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, inheriting the monumental task of overseeing Reconstruction, the process of reintegrating the defeated Confederate states back into the Union. Johnson's approach to Reconstruction, which emphasized leniency toward the South, put him at odds with the radical Republicans in Congress, who favored a more punitive approach. This clash led to his impeachment by the House of Representatives, though he was acquitted by the Senate. President Johnson's life teaches us that courage is needed even during the most unpopular times, that leadership sometimes requires standing firm against the tide of public opinion. He died at the age of 66, his story a reminder that even in times of national crisis, the principles of governance and the balance of power must be fiercely guarded. Abraham Lincoln, our 16th president, needs no introduction. Born in a log cabin in Kentucky and raised in Illinois, he rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most consequential presidents in American history. Lincoln came to office in 1861, just as the nation was fracturing over the issue of slavery. He led the country through its bloodiest conflict, the Civil War, holding the Union together and ultimately ending slavery. His words, enshrined in the Gettysburg Address and his second inaugural address, eloquently articulated the principles of unity, equality, and freedom that define America's soul. President Lincoln's life teaches us that the power of unity and freedom can outlive even the most unimaginable tragedy. He was assassinated in 1865, just days after the war's end, but his legacy continues to inspire generations of Americans and people around the world. James Buchanan, our 15th president from Pennsylvania, serves as a cautionary tale in the annals of American leadership. He took office in 1857, a time when the nation was deeply divided over the issue of slavery. Buchanan, a career politician, sought to appease both sides of the slavery debate, but his inaction only served to further divide the country. He believed that the issue of slavery should be left to individual states to decide, a stance that many saw as inadequate in the face of such a moral crisis. President Buchanan's life teaches us that leadership in action has heavy consequences, and sometimes it is better to act boldly, even at the risk of alienating some, than to stand idly by while a nation crumbles. He died at the age of 77, his presidency a reminder that leadership demands decisive action, especially in times of crisis. Franklin Pierce, our 14th president from New Hampshire, carried the weight of personal tragedy throughout his presidency. He took office in 1853, a time when the issue of slavery continued to tear at the fabric of the nation. Pierce, a staunch supporter of states' rights, signed the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which allowed for the expansion of slavery into new territories. This decision further inflamed tensions between the North and South, pushing the country closer to civil war. President Pierce's life, marked by personal loss and political turmoil, teaches us that personal struggle must not overshadow public duty. He died at the age of 64. His presidency a reminder that leadership requires compartmentalization, that personal demons must not hinder the pursuit of the greater good. Millard Fillmore, our 13th president from New York, navigated a period of intense political division with a commitment to moderation and compromise. He took office in 1850 following the death of President Zachary Taylor. Fillmore, a member of the Whig Party, inherited a nation grappling with the issue of slavery's expansion westward. He supported the Compromise of 1850, a series of bills designed to avert secession and civil war. The compromise included measures such as the Fugitive Slave Act, which required citizens to assist in the capture of escaped slaves, a deeply controversial provision that ultimately failed to quell the growing sectional tensions. President Fillmore's life teaches us that moderation can sometimes bridge fierce divisions, but honestly, true solutions require addressing the root causes of conflict, not just papering over them with temporary compromises. He died at the age of 74, his presidency a reminder that leadership requires both pragmatism and a commitment to principle. Zachary Taylor, our 12th president, was a man of action, a military hero who captured the imagination of the American people. Born in Virginia, he spent his life in service to his country, rising through the ranks of the United States Army to become a celebrated general during the Mexican-American War. His battlefield exploits made him a national hero, and in 1848, he was elected president, the second general to ascend to the highest office. Taylor, known as Old Rough and Ready for his unpretentious style and his courage under fire, believed in a strong union and opposed the expansion of slavery into new territories. President Taylor's life teaches us that strong leadership comes from real-world experience, that sometimes those who have proven themselves in the crucible of conflict are best equipped to guide a nation through turbulent times. He died in office in 1850 at the age of 65. His presidency cut short, but his legacy as a military hero and a steadfast leader secure. James K. Polk, our 11th president, was a man with a plan. Born in North Carolina and raised in Tennessee, he came to office in 1845 with a clear agenda: to expand the United States to the Pacific Ocean. Polk, a Democrat, believed in manifest destiny, the idea that America had a God-given right to expand its borders. During his single term in office, he oversaw the annexation of Texas, the acquisition of the Oregon Territory from Great Britain, and the conquest of California in the Mexican-American War, achieving his goal of expanding the United States to the Pacific. President Polk's life teaches us that hard work and preparation achieve enormous goals. He died at the age of 53, just months after leaving office, but his legacy as a president who dramatically expanded the nation's borders remains secure. John Tyler, our 10th president from Virginia, ascended to the presidency under extraordinary circumstances. He became president in 1841 following the death of William Henry Harrison, who died just 31 days into his term, the first president to die in office. Tyler, a former Democrat who had joined the Whig ticket as Harrison's running mate, was thrust into the role of president, a position he was perhaps not fully prepared for. Despite facing opposition from his own party, Tyler established important precedents for presidential succession and asserted the power of the presidency. President Tyler's life teaches us that swift action preserves government stability, that even in the face of tragedy and uncertainty, the business of governance must continue. He died at the age of 71. His presidency a reminder that leadership sometimes requires stepping into the void, even when unprepared, and forging a path forward. William Henry Harrison, our 9th president, holds a unique place in American history as the president with the shortest tenure. Born in Virginia, he had a long and distinguished career as a military officer, politician, and diplomat before being elected president in 1840. Harrison, a Whig, campaigned on his military record and his image as a man of the people. However, his presidency was tragically cut short. On a cold and blustery inauguration day, Harrison delivered a lengthy inaugural address without a coat or hat. He caught a cold that developed into pneumonia, and he died just 31 days after taking office. President Harrison's life, though tragically brief, teaches us that preparation for leadership matters even before day one. It's a reminder that even the most experienced and capable individuals must prioritize their health and well-being, for the burdens of leadership can be immense. Martin Van Buren, our 8th president from New York, navigated a rapidly changing political landscape with skill and pragmatism. He took office in 1837, inheriting a financial crisis, the Panic of 1837, that plunged the nation into an economic downturn. Van Buren, a Democrat and a close ally of Andrew Jackson, faced criticism for his handling of the crisis. However, he also demonstrated a capacity for adaptation, embracing policies that helped to stabilize the economy and establish a more sustainable financial system. President Van Buren's life teaches us that adaptability is key in shifting political landscapes. He died at the age of 79, his presidency a reminder that leadership requires responding effectively to unexpected challenges and adjusting course when necessary. Andrew Jackson, our 7th president, was a man of contradictions, a fierce warrior, and a shrewd politician who left an indelible mark on American history. Born in South Carolina but raised in Tennessee, he embodied the spirit of the frontier, independent, resourceful, and fiercely protective of his beliefs. Jackson, a hero of the War of 1812, was elected president in 1828, ushering in a new era of American democracy, one characterized by expanded suffrage and greater participation by ordinary citizens. He championed the common man, challenged the power of the national bank, and expanded executive authority. However, his legacy is also intertwined with the forced removal of Native American tribes from their ancestral lands, a dark chapter in American history. President Jackson's life teaches us that strong willpower can define eras, but must be balanced with fairness and a respect for the rights of all. He died at the age of 78, his story a reminder that leadership, even when driven by good intentions, can have unintended and tragic consequences. 30 presidents, 30 lives, 30 legacies, each one in their own way shaped the course of American history. Some led with boldness, others with restraint. Some faced unimaginable challenges, others navigated times of peace and prosperity. But they all shared one thing in common, a commitment to public service, to guiding this nation through good times and bad. Their stories offer valuable lessons about leadership, about courage, about integrity, about the enduring power of the human spirit. Every president leaves a lesson behind. Which one inspired you most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more history insights.